Lots of people are not going to like this one. I'm just going to let you know that right up front. It's completely up to you if you want to watch, but if you wear your fifis on your sleeve, I can pretty much guarantee you're going to hate it. Oh well, I guess it is what it is, so let's get into it coming up next. Okay, so here's the question that I almost skipped. In fact, I might end up regretting this, only time will tell, but I'd already written 3 out of the 5 responses, and there was no way I was going to stop now. So, fair warning, this is going to get really political and absolutely not politically correct. If you don't want to see that, or you don't want your fifis hurt, just turn it off now. You're probably not going to be happy, but I figure that most of my regular viewers, they're made of sterner stuff. So let's get to Braxton's 4th question for Atheist 2025. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Number 4, Richard Dawkins has long been praised by atheists as one of the 4 horsemen of the new atheism.
I don't care about Dawkins. I don't do hero worship, never have, never will. But see, I already know where he's going with this, and this is the point that I almost shut it down. It doesn't help that this is the shortest of his questions by a long shot, and I figured, hey, that'll be pretty easy. Until he started talking, and then it's like, yeah, do I really want to do this? Well, no, I really don't. Not that I tend to shy away from these topics. I talk about them all the time over on my blog, but the channel has become a very strong no politics zone, mostly because I know that my politics do not align with a lot of atheists out there, and I'm probably going to slam a lot of them here. I don't know yet, I'm not that far in. But fair warning, we are off into uncharted lands on the channel. I don't want anyone to say that I didn't let them know up front. So if you're going to get offended, just click out now. It's fine. I don't mind. Go right ahead. So anyhow, back to the question.
But recently he's caused some controversy with some comments about the trans debate.
He really hasn't, though, because the reality is he's not wrong. Not that I pay much attention to him at all, but like J.K. Rowling, he's just saying what is supported by actual science and reality. Now, you know me, I'm 100% consistent in everything that I do, and I don't let my fifis get in the way. I don't care how anyone feels about reality. I care only about how reality actually is. You know, when I keep saying that you need to take yourself and your emotions out of any question and just go on the facts, well, the same goes here as well. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people in the atheist world that are running on pure fifis and faith, and as far as I'm concerned, those people can go fuck off too. Facts only, feelings be damned. So let's take a deep breath and get back to it.
For many atheists, he's right about science when it comes to young earth creationism versus evolution, but he's wrong when it comes to this current cultural debate.
And culture doesn't matter when it comes to reality, any more than religion does. Facts are facts, and fuck your feelings. It doesn't matter what you want to be true, only what actually is. Sadly, this is something that a lot of people of a particular religious leaning can't get through their heads, and for a lot of them, at least in my opinion, they have transplanted their more religious leanings into their political leanings, and they're still running on blind faith. But it sounds good to me. Nobody ought to care. Because when it comes to things like biology, and let's be honest, this goes for anything that objective science touches on, you should keep your feelings entirely out of it. If you want to go debate the philosophy of science, go right ahead, knock yourself out, nobody cares. But this isn't philosophy, it's reality that we're talking about, and reality matters more than your feelings do. we need to pay attention to the reality that we live in, and we can worry about the social consequences after that. Because, I'm sorry, but I just don't think we should lie to ourselves, even if it is for a supposedly good cause, just because it makes it easier to deal with our day-to-day problems. That's really what's going on in society today, where far too many people are taking all leave of their rational senses and going full emotional lunatic. But I guess that's neither here nor there at the moment, is it?
Do you personally think he's right or wrong, and why?
Like I said, I really don't pay any attention to him. In fact, I haven't read any of his books probably since The God Delusion, maybe a little bit after, I don't remember, but I really don't pay any attention to him. I don't care what he says. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I don't know that I ever really did. There are a lot of atheists who deconverted because of The God Delusion and other Dawkins books, but I never did because I had deconverted long before they ever came out. My atheism far predates any of that. Now, while I've read his early books at least, I just went and looked just so I would get it right, but I've got The Blind Watchmaker, Extended Phenotype, God Delusion, Selfish Gene just sitting there. And I think as ebooks, I have a couple more, but I'm not going to go look at that. I don't have the kind of attachment to any of it that I've seen from a lot of other atheists over the years. So I can't really say, yes, I agree, or no, I don't agree, because I don't really know the details of what he says because I don't pay a whole lot of attention to anything he says. In fact, most of what I know about modern Dawkins is what I hear from the whining of atheists of a particular social and political bent, and I've learned just to tune all that out because I just don't care. And I suppose that's because I'm not interested in anyone's take on things. I care about reality, not someone's interpretation thereof. Show me the evidence, don't tell me what it means, because it probably doesn't mean anything. That's where we have problems, because how you interpret things is almost certainly wrong. And I don't care about people's wrong interpretations. I've said this many, many times before. If there was a massive asteroid that was going to hit the planet and there was nothing anyone could do about it, we were all going to die, would I want to know? And the answer is absolutely, because I care about the state of factual reality. I do not consider ignorance to be bliss. So yes, tell me the truth or point to where I can find it out for myself, because I don't tend to give a damn what anyone says. And because I don't give a damn what anyone says, I'm going to go and look at the facts and make up my own mind. Everyone else might be running around like a lunatic crying, but I'm not going to. I will just accept it as another fact about the reality in which I live and move on, at least for as long as I can. Now, that was the end of his question, and yes, I guess I am trying to put it off, but okay, you gotta bite the bullet sometime. I kind of agree. Now, this isn't just a trans issue. I've been seeing this on that side of the political aisle for a very, very long time now. Whether anyone likes it or not, there are two sexes. Kind of, because there are a few exceptions that I'm not really going to go into unless I have to, but reality is what it is. Male and female, and some combinations that are relevant to the current conversation. That's it. Now, there are people out there who demonstrably are born into the wrong body. We know that. We can prove that. Gender dysphoria is a thing. We can do brain scans, analyze the genes, and do studies on hormonal influence, which strongly suggests that the structure of the brain of individuals with gender dysphoria actually shows that their brain and their body are not in alignment. Now, it's not a perfect study. It's not something we can just do and go, yep, you are definitely supposed to be male, or you are definitely supposed to be female. That kind of stuff is still in its infancy, but we can get some clues. This is a demonstrable medical condition. It's not fee-fees. It's not, I really feel this way. For the people who actually get medically diagnosed, I have a lot of sympathy, although I guess sympathy doesn't matter because they are what they demonstrably are, not what they want to be. If they want to take steps to correct the situation, at least as far as we're currently medically able to do so, then by all means, go right ahead. An actual medical diagnosis is a whole lot different than, here's how I feel, because I don't care how you feel. Grow the hell up. Yet, that's kind of how things go these days, isn't it? It's not about being medically diagnosed most of the time. It's about, how do I feel? And as I said, this has been going on for a really, really, really long time. A lot of this, at least in my personal opinion, goes back to teenagers who have traditionally sought out their own identity, and there's nothing at all wrong with that because that's what they do. That's where you get all the mods and the goths and the hippies going back into the 60s, the stuff that, as far as we can measure back, it's always been going on. You can actually find Socrates, I think, who was talking about this stuff way back in ancient Greece. This is nothing new. It's teenagers trying to assert their independence while at the same time trying to be part of the in-group, whatever that happens to be. So they're trying to be different and exactly the same at the same time. And that's kind of weird, but a lot of people go through that. And if you go back into the 90s and early 2000s, sexual orientation became one of those fads. Now, there are definitely gay people. We can prove that too, and that's perfectly fine. Gay people are fine. Straight people are fine. Everybody's fine. I'm fine with that. But I saw a lot of people who honestly were trying on gay as an identity, not as something that they actually were, not as something they demonstrably were. There weren't a lot of publicly gay people out there, so saying that they were gay or bi or whatever, that made them different. Except so many of them were doing it all pretty much at the same time that they were all the same, weren't they? We know about how many actual gay people there are in society. It's a genetic question, not one of preference. Between 3 to 5% of any given population is gay. We know that. However, according to studies, Gen Z, about 30% of them identify being gay in some fashion. How you identify is not how you are. That is not reality. That's just fee-fees. This is identity as a social group. It's not actually real. Now, after a while, when everyone was pretending to be gay, it kind of lost its luster and they went on to other things. Suddenly, there were 173 genders. No, they're not. There are not 173 genders. It isn't what you feel. It's what you are. And if you go and look at the lists of said genders, and no one can agree what they actually are because it's not objectively real, it's just all made up, some of them are really, really dumb. Actually, most of them are really, really dumb. I went through a couple of lists, and a huge number of entries are, I'm gay from a particular cultural context. I'm sorry, but your culture doesn't matter to your fucking genetics. I have cancer from a particular cultural context. Don't be dumb. If you're gay, cool. I don't care. I really don't. Be you. Yet, this all led into the whole don't misgender me nonsense, where people figure that they can force others, often legally, to treat them how they really want to be treated and somehow validate their I'm different position. But that's not how reality works. Because in the United States, we have a constitutionally protected freedom of speech. And we don't have to make you feel good about the lies that you tell yourself and others. I know that bothers a lot of people, but too fucking bad. So, I have this really good, close trans friend. And I'm not doing this to say, see, I have trans friends or I have gay friends. Even though I do, but there's a point to this story. I have known him, and he was a him back then, since he was about 16. Now I think he's 57. I mean, his birthday is in April, and I'm not positive if he's going to be 57 or is 57 currently. And by the time this video comes out, it'll be past April, I think, or in April, I think. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's not the point of the story. I've known him for a very, very, very long time. Way back in the day, he was part of my gaming group, and he always played female characters. Always. I mean, always. Every single one. He was also very adamantly anti-gay. He'd never waste an opportunity to attack someone who was even potentially gay. I mean, not physically, but verbally, he was very, very anti-gay. Now, this was back in the early to mid 80s, so that kind of thing was kind of accepted, but that's how he was. Over time, though, in his mid to late 20s, he found out that he had gender dysphoria. Yes, he went to a doctor and everything. I don't know what tests they ran or whatever, but they came to the conclusion that he actually was a woman in a man's body. He got legitimately diagnosed. It took him until he was somewhere in his 30s, I guess, before he decided that he wanted to be treated as a woman, and he came out to his friends and said as much. He didn't demand, he didn't list his pronouns, he just said, hey, this is me, take it or leave it. Most of his friends, although certainly not all, we accepted it. He had gone through all the steps and done things properly to show that in reality this is who he actually was, or I guess who she was now. Those of us who cared about him or her, it's kind of hard to do this transition story thing, but those of us who cared said, okay, we wanted this friendship to continue, so we chose to do what made the most sense to do. So he was then she, and she got all of the hormone treatments, and eventually she did get surgically altered. And frankly, and it's not just me who says this, but she makes a much better woman than she ever did a man. The point is, it wasn't forced. It was just, here I am, take it or leave it, and we chose to take it. She never pulled any of this crap with us, and I respect her for that. But let's remember, respect is earned, not simply granted, and it's absolutely not demanded. She did it the right way, and she said, hey, this is the way I'm going to live from here on out. If you want to be friends with me, cool. This is what you got to accept. If you don't, no harm, no foul. You can go over there. And to this day, she doesn't run around and demand people use her pronouns. If somebody calls her he, her, he, whatever. But if somebody calls her a man, because you can still tell, I mean, it's not obvious that she's always been a woman, but if somebody does that, she just goes, and walks away because she doesn't care. She is very confident in herself. And that's something a lot of modern people can't be, which is kind of sad. This is how you handle reality. You actually live in reality. But way too many people these days, they can't do that, can they? Because most of what we see out there today are demands for compliance. And fuck you. You have not earned that respect from me. You have not demonstrated to me or anyone else that what you claim is an accurate representation of the real world. This is true for everyone. If my friend had come to me and declared, I've chosen to identify as a wombat, I'd have told them that they were nuts. I'm sure we wouldn't be friends today if that had happened. So, another story. I was, way back in the mid to late 80s, one of the founding members of furry fandom. Back before it was a fetish. Back when it was a bunch of people who just liked anthropomorphic art and liked watching Bugs Bunny cartoons, things like that. Because that's really where it started. It had very little sexual content at all, at least publicly, although I'm sure that there were some people doing stuff behind the scenes that I didn't see. But mostly it was all family oriented, or at least could be seen by normal people. Anyway, it was fun for a couple of years until at a convention one year, I overheard some idiots in leather gear in the elevator asking what all this stupid animal stuff was about. They were just there to fuck. because that's how they initially grew, by posting ads for the conventions in alternate lifestyle magazines and drawing in a bunch of perverts who didn't care about the anthropomorphic part of it. Over time, those people just adopted the idea as just another kink, but by that time I was long gone. Those are stories for another day, of course, but that's kind of how it shook out. But there are still a lot of really delusional people in the fandom, because I still have friends that are involved, at least from a distance, and I get to hear all the stories. But I really am an 80-foot-long fire-breathing red dragon. Yeah, fuck you. Go seek professional help, because that's not what you actually are. I don't care how you identify. I don't care what you want to be. I care what is actually going on in reality. And while it might sound a little weird to conflate trans people with furries, they're not really that far different. And that's kind of a sad thing too. You don't just get to declare your delusions and expect to be respected. Respect is earned, and you haven't earned it. You need to prove that this stuff is actually true with evidence. And for a lot of these people, and I'm talking more about the people of a particular political persuasion, who just wake up one day and go, yeah, today I'm going to be trans, and tomorrow I'll be gay, and then I'll be straight, and then I'll be this, and I'll be that, and I'll be whatever, because this is how I feel for the day. Those people can all just go fuck themselves, because I have no respect for them. And keep in mind, you don't have to care if I respect you. That's totally fine. But if you don't care if I respect you, then you have no right whatsoever to come and insist that I treat you the way that you want to be treated, that I buy into the lie that you insist on telling yourself. If you don't care, I don't care. It's fine. It's not like I'm out there telling you that you're wrong. You do you. I will just ignore you as best I can because I don't care. That's really how I look at a lot of these people of a particular political and social persuasion. They're really out there just role-playing. Now, I'm sure that there are actual trans people involved, people who have been medically diagnosed and who actually have gender dysphoria, and those people, they are what they are. But for most of them, no. Now, I saw a video a long time ago, and I did try to go find the data, and I couldn't, so forgive me, take this as you will. But there was a study in a British school where they found that something like 60% of students knew someone or were themselves seeking gender reassignment surgery or potentially were researching it or whatever. And that is absurdly out of line with what we know about trans people. Less than 1% of any given population is legitimately trans. This isn't real. It's just make-believe. There aren't 147 different genders. There are 2. Gender is just a made-up concept anyhow. It's how they get around, well, my sex is X, but my gender is Y. Gender isn't even a fucking thing. Never has been, never will be. You are what you are as defined by your genes and your biology, not by your fee-fees. It doesn't matter what you really want to be true. And I say this about everybody. It doesn't matter what the creationists want to be true. There was no creation. There was no universal flood. There was no exodus from Egypt. There was none of this stuff. It's not defensible rationally. You have to be able to back it up. And sadly, we live in a culture these days where they've kind of taken the motherly advice, well, you can be anything you want to be seriously. Yeah, I want to be an elephant. It doesn't work that way. You need professional help. If you don't care enough to find out what's really going on, and sadly lots of people don't, then you're just nuts. This kind of reminds me a lot of the people, and while I'm pissing people off, I might as well just do it, who blindly declare, I'm autistic. Oh, really? Have you had that medically diagnosed? Are you being treated? No, I just know it. Yeah, fuck off. Because this is really, really common. There are people out there who just claim this just to cover up their antisocial behavior. No, you're not autistic. You're just a dick. Now, I'm not down on people who are legitimately autistic or whatever. I'm just lumping a lot of things under the umbrella of autism, which I probably shouldn't do, but this video is going to be really, really long if I had to go into all the different disorders and stuff. So we're just going to do what we do. But if you've been legitimately diagnosed and are being treated for it, hey, that's fine. I got no problems with you whatsoever. I really don't. No complaints of any kind. If you're just making it up so you can be different, and I do think a lot of people are, then go fuck yourself. I am not remotely impressed. And now I've drifted really far afield from the original question, which I figure I've already answered, so all the assorted snowflakes can take their delusions and empty claims and just go fuck themselves, because unless your claims are in accordance with demonstrable reality, I don't care. I just don't. And before you say, there are doctors who will diagnose anything. Yeah, I know. It's pathetic. It's like the idiots who will write a letter saying that somebody needs an emotional support animal just because they want to move into a no-pet apartment. Because, hey, so long as they're getting paid, what difference does it make? I'm sorry, but if you need an animal to be sane, you ought to be in therapy or something. Your feelings don't matter. It's time to grow up and deal with reality. It's honestly not that hard. Because sadly, over the past, 20, 30 years or so, probably closer to 20, we've just raised an entire culture of wimps. People who can't handle the real world, so they just lie to themselves. And you know what that sounds like, don't you? Religion! Because it's essentially doing the same thing. But I'm not going to get into that because this has been long enough. So anyway, that was my meandering answer to the question. Anyone who is now upset, please feel free to unsubscribe, because honestly, this probably isn't the place for you. The people that I really want to hang around here are the people who can deal with reality without letting their emotions get in the way. The people we really need in the world are the ones who can look at reality, accept it as it really is to the best of our ability to currently examine it, and then just move on from there. I'm entirely cool with those people. It's the ones who constantly whine, "I'm not happy," that I've got little patience for. You don't just get to redefine your reality in a way that makes you feel good. The facts are the facts. Learn to deal. I wish more people would be that way, but sadly, humanity is dumb and delusional, and that's nothing at all to be proud of. So there's my answer. We'll come back in a week and handle his last questions, and at the moment, I've got absolutely no idea what it is, but it kind of looks like a long one, so that might be interesting. He, or I guess whoever uploads his videos, they marked all of the questions in the timeline so I can at least gauge how long they are without having to watch them first. So I at least get to look and see how long I think it's going to take to go through them. And I could still be wrong. This was the shortest by far, but it looks like it had to have the longest answer so far. At least so far, because I don't know about the future. And it really had nothing at all to do with atheism. So, yeah, maybe I should start pre-screening some of these videos for validity before I get to them. I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments, and I guess I'll see you all next time.